Today on Community Watch, I'm having a conversation with Felix Monterrosa, who is the Director of Environmental Services at Advent Health Redmond and an alumni of Georgia Highlands College with an associate degree, about to get his bachelor's in a couple of weeks. You don't want to miss this show. Inspirational story. Community Watch starts now. Welcome to Community Watch. I am so pleased to have with us today Felix Monterrosa. Felix, it's great to have you.
Great to have you. Great to be here.
You are the Director of Environmental Services at Advent Health Redmond. But that's not how I first knew you. Because you were a student at Georgia Highlands first. Mm-hmm. And I want to talk about that experience, but one part of your story that impresses me so much is that I can't remember what year it was, but you started at Highlands, you were there for a while, and struggled a little bit.
Yeah, definitely.
and then we didn't see you for a while. Mm-hmm. And then you came back after a few years, and it was like you were a changed man. I don't know what happened, but you struggled a little bit academically in those earlier years, and I don't know what you did during the time away, or what happened to you. Maybe you can tell us, but you came back so motivated, and not only did you finish the degree that you had left incomplete then, you're like Dean's List now, right? Or President's List even.
Yeah, I got President's List, believe it was fall of last year.
I mean, it's like, who are you? So I don't know. It was a very inspiring story. Mm-hmm. It's a very inspiring story. So,
well, thank you.
Let's talk about that a little bit, because I know that there are many other folks who have started school and had to leave for various reasons, whether it's family or work or whatever it was, and maybe have put off coming back to finish. Mm-hmm. But you were able to come back and do it. In fact, you are graduating with your bachelor's degree like in a month, right?
Yes, sir. 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Something like that, yeah.
So
countdown's on.
Talk to us a little bit about that early experience and what happened to change your focus.
I mean, to be completely honest, when I first started Highlands, I wasn't grown up yet. I wasn't mature. I didn't have my priorities straight. Gosh, I remember like in high school, I had like a 3.5 GPA. I got accepted to West Georgia, and I was looking at other schools, and something told me to go to Highlands. I guess maybe quote unquote easy or something. I don't know why, but I started going to Highlands, and I started slacking off. I was more interested in working and making money, and at one time I was working 2 full-time jobs while going to school, and I'd wake up in the morning, I'd work 2 straight 8-hour shifts, go home, go to sleep, and then wake up and say, do I really want to go to this algebra class? No. So it was, I wasn't in the state of mind to be at school wasting anybody's time, wasting money, and it just wasn't for me at that time. And a few years later, I remember I think I bumped into you at one point downtown, and I got to thinking about the Brother to Brother program that you got me involved in, and I remember the statistic that you pointed out was less than 6% of all Hispanic males that go to college graduate, and I just remember thinking, dang, I'm part of that 94% that didn't. So it's always been something that I wanted to go back to, and once the opportunity presented itself financially, and with my wife, we were able to discuss like how this was going to happen. Like, if I'm going to go to school, how are we going to be able to do X, Y, Z? And once I had her full support in my corner, and I had realized all the time that I had wasted and all the resources I wasted, it just kind of clicked, and it was, all right, if I'm gonna go back, I'm not gonna mess up. I'm gonna make sure I do this right. I'm paying this out of my own pocket. Hope and Pell Grant aren't paying for this, so yeah. I need to make sure that I'm not wasting, my own resources.
Well, you certainly did come back with a vengeance. I mean, I remember, checking your grades after that first semester. I'm thinking, what? He was able to do this the whole time, and so it was like,
yeah, definitely. I'm a competitive person normally, and my sister went to school. My sister's 5 years younger than me. She went to Berry and she graduated, and I remember, she's got her diploma, and I'm super proud of her. She's a teacher at West Central, and just being super proud of her, and then being ashamed of what I left behind. I left behind, I think it was a 1.12 GPA. Academic probation, like it's almost like if you see me on campus, I'm gonna get kicked out. Like, so it was definitely a kind of look yourself in the mirror kind of moment.
Yeah. Well, in those years when you were not in school, were you working that whole time?
Oh yeah, I worked. I was working. I remember at one point I was working factory jobs. I was doing 7/12s for months on end. I worked outside. I worked in construction and landscaping, and I did a bit of masonry work on the side. Like, it was a lot of hard work, and I just remember that thinking, it's like, well, this is what you get, no school, no trade school, no nothing. This is what what I did to myself. So kind of, you deserve it,
But that had to also kind of inspire you to try to, do something else, because you knew you had it in you to do something else.
So my breaking moment was, I had been at this job for 5 years, and a supervisor role came into, was open, and the company was trying to hire from within. And I had the time, I had great attendance, I have nothing bad on my record. If anything, I was one of the better employees there. And another guy who had been there maybe 6 months, and he had a lot of attendance issues with him. We both went up for the role, and he got it. So I was a little frustrated, and one of the big guys in the office, he's like, well, I mean, he's got a bachelor's degree. You don't have anything. So it's kind of hands are tied. Like, you need to have that education, to be able to move up in certain roles. It's so if you had a college education, I'd love to give you the opportunity, but I can't do it.
Yeah.
And I remember just going home and being so mad and frustrated, and I talked to my wife and I said, like, I'm never going to make anything over $15 an hour because of what I don't have qualifications wise. And it's so hard to build a future, on a low salary. I mean, I know it's possible, but I just remember being so discouraged and talking to her, and then I said, you know what, let me ring up Dr. Hershey. Let's see if I can go back to school.
Well, you came back and completed your associate degree in business.
Business administration, yep.
And now you are 3 weeks away from graduating with a bachelor's in business administration and healthcare management.
Yes, sir.
So that bachelor's program has been around for a couple of years, but it was not in place when you started at Georgia Highlands. So tell me a little bit about that part, that experience. Has it been a good experience, that bachelor's program?
Oh, it's been a great experience. You know, I like to, tell everybody that, I'm not the smartest person in the room. I'm very, very dumb.
Now, I don't know that I buy that totally.
Well, there's a lot of things that I don't know, and for some reason I got into healthcare during COVID. So if that tells you anything, I am kind of dumb. And when I got into healthcare and I got into the assistant director role and I started doing school, everything that school taught, and I know it sounds cliche, but everything that was being taught in school was there at work. Like, I had never heard of the word, for example, the word throughput, right? Didn't know what it meant, never heard of it, So the week that we're going over it in one of my classes, we're talking about throughput, you're trying to get as many people seen as possible, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. My boss at the time, she had to step away for some reason, so I had to step in for her in at one of the director meetings. So I did, and the director meeting was solely focused on throughput in the ER and why it's so important to get people seen and in front of a physician, in front of somebody as quickly as possible, and I'm like, oh, I'm so glad I paid attention because I know what that word means, and I'm not looking like an idiot sitting here just, I don't know why I'm here for, and so that's the one that sticks out the most. But I had several situations like that where what I was learning, I was almost immediately applying it at work, and it's been very helpful for me in the field that I'm in.
Now, most of those bachelor's classes that you've been taking were online, weren't they?
Yes, sir.
Now, I have always thought that it is difficult for somebody who works all the time to keep up when it's online.
Yeah.
How did that work for you?
Well, I remember that when I was younger, one of the things that made me get my own way was not having your mom wake you up in the morning and make you go to school, right? Like in high school, it's like, why aren't you at school yet? You need to go, you need to go, you need to go. And if you skip a day, you're getting phone calls. And when I go to college, well, you already paid for it, you know? Like, if you go to class or not, we got your money.
It's on you, right?
Exactly. So I remember that was one of my pitfalls the first time I was in school. And so when I got back in and it was, online, I said, okay, like I see the danger, like the how easy it could be for me to turn into 2009 Felix, and not wanting to go to class or do whatever. So I organized my days, and it's like, okay, I have, I work for 10 hours. I have to find the time. Like, even if it's just a little bit at a time, I have to do at least 2 hours of schoolwork. Whether it's just reading through material or doing one quiz in one class, like, forcing myself to make sure I have that time available. So my work days, I consider them to be 12-hour work days. 10, at work and 2 in front of the computer, which was schoolwork. And it helped me focus with it. But, the course load isn't something that's boring, I don't think. I enjoyed the class you set me up with, the Latin literature class. I learned a lot, and I like to consider myself very proud of being, Hispanic and my roots and everything. And as I after reading through all that, all the material, I was like, I never knew the term New Yorican, like, what is that, and all these different things that I was learning through there. So it was very interesting. So it wasn't hard for me to focus, but I was just trying to hold myself more accountable, I guess.
Well, you certainly did. We're coming up on our first break, but don't go away because we have a lot more to talk about with Felix, and you don't want to miss that. So stay where you are. We'll be right back.
most affordable bachelor's degree in Northwest Georgia is right here at Georgia Highlands College. High quality and career focused. That's what you can expect at GHC. Apply today at highlands.edu.
Welcome back to Community Watch. I'm having a conversation with Felix Monterrosa, who is the Director of Environmental Services at Advent Health Redmond, and very soon a graduate with a bachelor's degree.
That's right.
And you're not stopping with that either.
No, sir.
Tell me about your master's plan.
Well, I mean, it's momentum, right? I've got good momentum right now. I've got, I'm finishing up my bachelor's program, some, lifelong dream I've had, and I just want to keep going, keep shooting for the stars. And I decided to continue with the master's program. The problem was, what do I want to do? Where do I want to go? What do I want to study? It's a huge amount of research that I had to do. I've decided to continue studying at Southwest University through El Paso. It's a school that the company I work for, HHS, which partners with Advent Health, and their master's program, it's healthcare leadership in administration. Yeah, healthcare leadership in administration. So it's exactly what I'm doing now. It's,
So this starts this
August. Yeah. I was looking at 2 start dates. The first one was for May 13th, which was the week after I graduated. And I was like, I might need a little bit more time. So I've given myself a couple months break, so I can catch up on some stuff with work, spend some time with family, really recharge before I dive in, because the program is 21 months straight. So there's no summer break, or anything like that. It's, while we're here, this is what this is what we're supposed to be doing. Let's get it done. So. And
that master's degree could very well open some doors for you
yes,
down
sir.
the road. So.
Yes, sir. The goal is to not stop at the director role. As I've spent more time working at the hospital and been around a lot of the leadership team and seeing the constant change, because that's the thing in healthcare, expect change, so seeing all these different roles open up, just as an example, the COO at Redmond, she just got promoted to a new role that they created for her just based off of how good she is at her job. And with different companies creating these different positions, just based on how good people are at what they do, I want to put myself in that position where maybe I can make more money down the road, or be in a different situation. I jokingly told my wife that my old boss, she moved down to Tampa, and she goes, "I still got your number if I have a hospital down here." I said, "Ooh, I would love to move to Florida." So it's the master's degree is definitely gonna make sure that I have an avenue, right, to be able to branch off wherever I want to go.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, that's great. And your current position, Director of Environmental Services, tell us a little bit about what you're doing there.
So Director of Environmental Services, that's a big fancy title for saying the big boss of housekeeping, right? Yeah. So my job is to make sure the hospital is clean, and clean in the sense that our patients are comfortable going into any room, because they will not be contracting hospital-associated infections. Every room is sterilized, clean, disinfected, ready to go at a moment's notice. Our staff feels comfortable working in an area where, we really do our best to put them in the best position to do their jobs. Because if you go into a room that has so much clutter everywhere, it makes it a little difficult to get to where you need to go, right? Yeah. So, we want to put our patients in the best position to get better, our hospital staff in the best position to work with the patient, and really at the end of the day, get people seen and get them good, get them better.
Now you went through that like it was, just sort of a basic job, but
Mhm.
honestly, I can't think. I mean, I know that treatment is certainly very important in a
Mhm.
hospital, but what could be more important at a hospital than the
Yeah.
clean, being clean and safe.
Yeah, definitely. It's something that when you first look into, because the word housekeeping and cleaner and janitor, has a negative association with it, right? Like people
Yeah.
think, oh, it's just you don't really need to be smart to clean. You don't need to know anything to be able to mop a floor. But it's part of my role involves recruiting and training and making sure we have the correct staff in the correct in the correct positions. And the staff I have working for me, they are some of the best people I've ever been around. They make sure that every action that they perform there at work, they do it with the patient in mind.
Mhm.
So okay, if I'm going to mop this floor, I'm not just going to boop, 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 and I'm out of here. I'm going to make sure that I get every corner and make sure that there's nothing left behind.
Yeah.
So it's super important.
I mean,
for sure.
And I'm not exaggerating.
Mhm.
It's life and death at a hospital.
It can be, yeah.
So your job is pretty important, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. If there were no clean rooms, we couldn't admit a patient.
Yeah.
If there's no clean operating or procedure rooms, then we couldn't, operate or do anything with the patient. So it's definitely something that it is very, very important to take serious, to really just always be on top of things. I can't afford to have a bad day because if I have a bad day or if I'm not paying attention, I could potentially put someone's life at risk.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something that I'm very conscientious about in what I do, and that's why I feel like it's been easier for me with school, to touch on our earlier conversation, and to focus on that.
Mhm.
Because I know that it's going to make me a better leader, and it's always about growing.
Well, I also want to mention that you are serving on Georgia Highlands Latino Advisory Board, which is a group of alumni who are not just in the Rome-Floyd County area, but in our larger service area, that are helping us to try to get the word out to other Latino students that Georgia Highlands is a good option.
Yeah, definitely.
So your story is so truly inspirational. The fact that you were able to come back and do so well, that I think you're an ideal person to deliver that message.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. It's I feel like to me it was a switch, when it came back to doing, going back to school.
Mhm.
And there is so many different resources available in order to be able to succeed, to graduate, to overcome whatever we're going through. Like I told you, just being upset about somebody else getting a promotion over me kind of, was a breaking point for me, you know? And, well, I say breaking point, but it was really the kick in the butt that I needed to, to start getting better.
Yeah.
And it would be really, really nice if we can get to students before they spend 8, 9, 10 years, working 6, 7 days a week, busting their butt and, facing all kinds of disappointment left and right, and maybe getting to them before that, So I'm very excited to be able to do something within the community like that. I'm proud to be here from Rome. I work with a gentleman. His name is Terrence Height. He was a member of the 100 Black Men of Rome. And so speaking with him, he's like, yeah, we've done this, we've done that, and it's just I bounced a lot of ideas off of him on what we could do with the Latino board to be able to help in the community, to attract the more people to look our way and look at Highlands and say, you know what, Highlands doesn't sound like a bad idea, Yeah. So.
Well, I remember, and we won't name names, but I remember a couple of guys that you were in school with who also have not finished. They have different situations, of course. And I would love to see them back.
Oh, I've told them. I said, hey, I walked down that stage. Y'all weren't with me, but hey, it's never too late.
Yeah.
I definitely keep in contact with a lot of guys I went to school with, and it's never too late. I mean,
so
just point blank.
And I don't mean these particular guys, but any student, even students fresh out of high school, Latino students in particular, what would you tell them to encourage them to consider Georgia Highlands?
I mean, to be quite frank, Georgia Highlands, there's so many people at Georgia Highlands that want to help, and I'm terrible at asking for help. One of the worst people at asking for help, but seeing so many people there wanting to support you, wanting to see you do good, like I remember bumping into you and saying, and you telling me, hey, come back, we're still there. So like just having that support and someone cheer for you and be genuinely happy and root for you, I think played a huge factor for me. And then the classes, every class I've taken at Highlands, every instructor I've had, every professor has been super, super helpful. I've not had one class where someone said, well, figure it out. Everyone's been like, hey, no, let's work through whatever issue you're having. Like, let's sit down. We can do X, Y, Z. Dr. Gillespie sticks out to me as one of my old professors. I bumped into him and told him, man, I'm thinking about, getting in a master's program. Yeah. And he said, oh, man, you need to go to UGA. Let me write you a letter of recommendation.
I figured he would say that.
Yeah, so it's it's been, I've loved the time there. It's been, I think about my time fondly, honestly.
Yeah. Well, I think it's very important for potential students to be able to hear that story from you, because when they hear it from us, it sounds, it's just a company line, but to hear it from you and other alumni who have been through it, I think that makes such an impact.
Yeah.
So I appreciate your willingness.
Of course.
Do that.
And I mean, I'm always available. Whenever anyone has any kind of questions. A lot of my staff have kids in school. I tell them to reach out to me. They have my number, my work number, my personal number. If y'all know anybody, if you feel like talking to somebody, I'm more than willing to help out any way I can. More than willing to listen. I was a young, dumb Hispanic kid who didn't know what he wanted to do. So look at me now, right? Yeah. But it's whatever we can do to help each other out.
Well, I hope you will take a couple of days off after graduation to celebrate.
Yeah, I am.
Good,
a couple.
Good. Couple days. We're totally out of time, Felix. It was great talking to you.
Of course, great talking to you too, Doc.
And thank you for being with us. And we will see you next time on Community Watch. Bye now.